I think there's a degree of necessity and tradition. I don't necessarily think that the only thing the world should do is move forward. I think there's some degree in that the world should also have a sense of one eye maybe on the past and one eye on the future. I think that's an important thing that gets put to the wayside here when it comes to American culture. So I think that there should be a balance anyways. I don't know. What do I know? I maybe don't know anything. I know that I'm not very accurate this evening. I do this for a sense of meditation. This is highly meditative to me. It gives me an opportunity to focus and center. Man, this is a 65-pound draw. I just got done grappling and rolling next door, also Viking things. And so I'm incredibly tired. And so this gives me an opportunity to operate this bow under stress and fatigue. And I'm definitely not hitting a bullseye. But testing yourself, I think that's something that people don't do too often. I think people are in a hurry to be comfortable all the time. And there's a degree of self-knowing that comes from the lack of comfort. So every now and then I try to test myself. I need to do it more in the future. You know, I don't know how much longer I have to live, just like anybody else. Age is kind of irrelevant to me. I think at this point I've known too many people that just didn't get a fair shake at life, and for me to fear death at this point seems pretty self-involved. That one's getting a little better. I'm going to walk down, pull these out. So this is one of my meditations. It gives me an opportunity for just subtle, little, small self-improvements. Hopefully that makes total sense to people. I think a lot of times people look for macro change, and macro change is definitely necessary, but it's more like, macro change would be more like buying a lottery ticket instead of investing properly. So macro change is definitely cool. And I think macro change is, you know, if you get an opportunity to do macro change, and take it. But until then, micro change is going to be the thing. Yep. So I'm trying out this new target. I'm going to have to clean these arrows. In order to be good at what I do, I have to put so much time, and I've got two cameras going on here. I have to put so much time into throwing axes, and I have to put so much time into like archery, so much time into shooting weapons, and it's just part of the deal. There's got to be some time execution in this stuff. if you're going to stay proficient with a weapon system, and I think the proficiency in the weapon system is an interesting topic because proficient in the weapon systems, the number one weapon system you should be proficient in is your own body, and not weaponizing what you're inputting it and not weaponizing it against you with neglect. I mean, a lot of people neglect themselves. And I'm not an extremist. You don't look at me on here talking like a huge bodybuilder. I find that to be a little extreme. It's not that I don't appreciate what they do. It's just it doesn't work for what I do. Man, I am tired. But that's no excuse. I've got to learn how to operate under fatigue and be proficient regardless of ideal conditions. This brings up a bit of a conversation I've had with a few people. One of them that I've had, we had a man come in here that told me that his wife was assaulted recently and she was getting beat up by two men in their front yard. And his reaction was to get a cell phone and record it. And I've got to admit, I was pretty disgusted by him. I don't know that I could have just sat and watched the loved one be hurt while I recorded it so we can do something later in court. Man, there would have been a court date, but maybe not for that. I think there's something to being a warrior mentality. We had some girls in here the other night. They were warriors. I hope they come back. Awesome women, 3 of them. Did some pretty significant smashing on cutting area over here on the logs. Really good at what they did. I'm really impressed with them. Like them a lot. Hope they come back. Hope they become regulars here at the Viking training hall. Boom. I think a lot about what it takes to improve and grow and not die. And I think it's important as a young man, but it's certainly really important as you age, because there's going to be a time when there is no more time. All right. So I don't know. I try to put a lot of thought into what I do as far as training goes with the time that I have available. And I'm answering calls here. And I think there's a lack of ceremony today, cultural ceremony. We don't do a ton of things that really improve us. And I think that there needs to be probably some attention to detail made in what it takes to improve people. If you're not taking daily action, probably time to take down the Christmas stuff. What do you guys think? Daily action to improve yourself. Make sure you guys can see so you can join me. I can give a little more space here. If you're not taking daily action to improve yourself, and I think you're taking daily action to harm yourself. That's my 2 cents, whatever it's worth. I'm going to grab knives and an axe. Maybe some throwing cards. Whoop. I What do you guys think? You think that there is enough ceremony and enough pressure for people to make good change going on in our culture? You think it's okay? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure there is. I've got a couple things here to throw. So I ask people to make just a subtle change, one little change a day. That'll do it. Just one little change a day, just one effort a day could bring so much positive change to people that it would be astronomical to most people's lives. I have more than one thing going on here, sorry. So, gotta push a boop. Astronomical to people's lives. 30 days. Think of 30 micro changes in a 30-day period. What would that do for an individual's life? I think it'd be amazing. Oh, that should have stuck. Huh, that did. Oh. Man, can't get it all right. So again, this is pressure testing myself after I've grappled for a good hour with a 300-pound beast that I'm trying to get ready to go professional as a fighter. That was a pressure test by itself. Now I come into my weapons range and I practice my consistency. And I've tried to stay on a lot of different things, different types of weapons. These are called wasters, by the way. They're steel cord. They're not real, but they're real enough to hurt. Good thing to practice with without getting destroyed in the process. I pressure test myself in an effort to ensure consistency regardless of ideal conditions. And the only way to look good in the end is to not be afraid of looking bad in the beginning. And you see right now, I'm not looking the best at this, but that is the pressure testing, and I have to face it. I think most people will only do something if they think they're going to look good at it, but you're going to make it to the top of nothing taking that approach. You have to pressure test. I'm doing something wrong here. Man, I am just smoked out. Guess I won't be throwing knives at the bad guys. So, I'd like to hear from you guys. What do you do to pressure test yourself? Do you, anything to pressure test? I'd like to hear. Pressure testing is definitely something that civilians don't get a ton of. And I think it would make a huge difference for men in their lives if they would pressure test. I am just trash tonight. I cannot find it. You guys are first front row seats to me throwing like garbage. And then, ha! I'm going to try some other things as well. But I am actually very shocked on how bad I am after rolling for an hour. That really has changed the way I respond, and it is going to change the way I train in the future, because I think it could be easy to come up with a false sense of confidence in your capabilities, and they can just be destroyed by a little fatigue or stress. And that would suck to train your whole life just to be broken down because you're tired. But that's what I'm experiencing now. My shots with the bow were significantly less successful than they are when I am full of energy and primed. But for the record, that's the reason I started a different organization called the RFL, Run, Fight, Lift, is to give people an opportunity to be pressure tested as legitimate warrior athletes instead of just MMA fighters. Yeah, that was a good one. All right, see if I can get all of them tonight. Spoke too soon. Really got to put some pepper on these. Oh, all the way back. Yeah. You guys want to come over and look at that? Yeah. That's pretty cool, right? I think that's pretty cool. Those are, these are fun to throw for me. They also take a lot of meditation because I have to really audit my motion and move properly. I'm going to leave it here. You guys are going to be able to hear me, but I'm going to try to hit bullseyes in front of you. Let's talk about pressure testing again. Again, just got done rolling for an hour, hard. And I want to come in and make sure that my skills are good, regardless of my condition. And I think people mess that up in their marriages. They mess that up. They mess that up in their jobs. They messed it up in their personal goals. That they're only capable of pulling this stuff off if it's an ideal situation. But I think the champions can pull it off even if it's not an ideal situation. So what do you guys do? Do you think you pressure test enough? Do you think that you guys train enough? I have this question too for men, maybe even women, if you're in a woman and woman relationship. When it comes to defense, something like a no-knock entry raid into your house by bad guys. I ask men, what would you do? And I'm going to ask guys here, what would you do? 3 guys break into your house. 1 guy runs your wife, takes her off someplace, and somebody 2 other guys grab you, and the fight's on. What do you do? What most men say is like, anything I can. And so I asked the question, well, what can you do? And I don't know if that's a good answer or not. I tried a different throw there, sorry. I don't know if that's a good answer or not, because it's kind of like Leonidas talking to the that other government official on 300, and government official says, well, you're going to leave, what can I do? And the other, and Leonidas is like, that's true, what can you do? And I thought that was a very humiliating question. So I wonder, what can you do? What is the limits of your personal skill? Let me ask you guys this. when it comes to weapon systems, what weapon systems do you train on a regular basis in a condition around loved ones that you could pull off to protect them? And I'm not talking about going to the range and just sending ammo down range. I'm talking about not putting ammo rounds through a wall and into the baby crib, not putting it into somebody you don't want to hit. I'm talking about putting it on target, under stress, in different weapon systems, not just guns. I find guys that just do guns to be kind of cowardly little guys, if that's all they do. The reason being, I've gone to a gun thing where it's like a seminar and they're talking about the laws, and I was as disturbed listening to them ask, if somebody grabs me by the arm, can I shoot him? Can I shoot him? And it was, everything just came down to, can I shoot him? And I thought that was disgusting. I was like, do a pull-up, do a push-up, do something to make yourself formidable in some way other than lethal force with some piece of equipment over something that maybe doesn't require lethal force. And then you've got the other side of guys. You got the knife guys, and they like to drill and practice and theory and theory and theory. And then you got the other side of the knife guys, which is like fencing and saber and epee, things like that. And you've got a third side, which is like HMB, what used to be the Armored Combat League, organizations like this where they fight full contact and armor. And all of them have a sense of reality. All of them have a sense of what you're probably not going to face in reality. Like the armor stuff is absolutely real, but you're in armor, and normally you're not in armor. The technical stuff is pretty good. It's a plan, and you can definitely you need a plan if you're going to survive a knife attack or something. But it doesn't have any athleticism to it in most cases. It's not like a fencing program where they're really working footwork in and out and fast movements and timing. So I think a combination of all three of these is probably the ultimate answer. But then people feel like they have to give up so much of their life that they just absolutely don't want to do it, and so they just don't. And so what they do is they'll go do like a jiu-jitsu class and then think they have it figured out. And jiu-jitsu is great. It's a wonderful start. You get taken down, you're on the ground, you're in the worst position possible. There's 3 guys in the room. Somebody has a weapon. You're laying on your back. Not good. I wouldn't take that as my first place. Footwork comes into play in those situations. If you're not practicing footwork, you're in trouble. So what do? Join a boxing class, a Thai boxing class, and you go in and do this stuff. But that's sport, one-on-one. There's rules. You can't do this. You can't do this. Don't tackle them like that. Don't reap. Don't sweep like this. All these rules to make sure that it stays stylistically preferenced. That's a problem too. So how do you train? So how do you train? You have to train, bullseye. You have to train kind of everything. And that's one of the things that I want to do. I want to bring that to people. I try to get people to show up. It's really hard to get people to show up. The number one thing that I can get people to do most regularly and consistently is quit. Quit. Quit before it gets real. Quit before you get exposed as to your actual capabilities. That's a hard truth. Real hard truth. So the way I address it, and if I can get other people to do it, they're welcome to come in and train with me, but there is a limit of how many people are willing to come in and train. And I'd like to see more. I don't know, would you guys be interested in a cross-training club? Rifles, pistols, archery, bladed weaponry, bludgeoned weaponry, home defense tactics. I think I think it's necessary. I certainly wouldn't want to look at my loved ones and be without information if everything hit the fan. That wouldn't be my idea of a that wouldn't be my idea of a good time. So figuring out what a warrior means to you as a civilian, as a person that has to hold a job and run a family, you might have to swap out some of your hobbies. If you're a drinker, you may have to give up some time drinking. In order to make it work. I don't know. What do you guys think? It's important to me to know that my skills are in place to be a warrior. And what I mean by warrior isn't going to war, but not only to have the spirit of a warrior and a fighter, but to have the capabilities to back up what I say. I have these things on the wall, not only symbolically. It's a strange thing when you look into this medieval world. There is a large contingency of people that are really into Vikingism and things, but they're the one thing that the Vikings weren't: incapable of fighting, and they're not even interested in addressing that lack of capability. You won't see them when it comes to actually testing them. You only see them when it comes to creativity. I don't know if I'm very creative. These are just my thoughts. What's it take to be capable of war in defense of your family and loved ones? That's what I'm interested in. I'm interested more in it, not that I think it's going to happen. Hopefully it never does, that I would need those skills, but more that if it were to happen, I would be more than just talk on how, oh, I would do this and I would do this. When in reality, we don't know how we're going to react, but not having any training, being out of shape, being afraid of larger people, not having time under tension, not having drilling to deal with things like dealing with punches and kicks and dealing with takedowns and dealing with multiple opponents and dealing with weapons. And what do you do? And if you say it's unrealistic, you can't train for that, then your strategy is to simply not have a plan. Start a course. Start a course of not having a plan. So you can sell it to people that are interested in not having a plan. This one would be more for people looking for a plan. Do you feel prepared? Let me know.